Hello everyone and welcome. It has been some time since my last upload, and though it may have seemed that I have been gone for good, I can assure you that is simply not the case, and that I'm still here to deliver high quality film reviews and whatever the heck else I want to post. So let's get right into it. In this video, I'll be reviewing the new and popular Saw movie. This one released in 2023 and is the 10th installment in the American Horror Saw film series. This installment serves as both a direct sequel to the first Saw, released in 2004, and as a prequel to the second Saw film, Saw 2, released in 2005. The film was both directed and edited by Kevin Greutert, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, who has had an extensive career specializing in the horror film genre, though most notably of his filmography is his hands in many of the Saw films. Saw X was written by Peter Goldfinger and Josh Stolberg. There is little information on both those individuals other than they have also served in some of the other horror films which include previous Saw movies. The cinematography was helmed by Nick Matthews, music done by Charlie Clouser, all of which did a decent job in the film. The film was produced by production company Twisted Pictures and distributed by Lionsgate. The running time for this film is about 118 minutes or almost 2 hours, which is slightly longer than some of the other Saw films, which is a bit drawn out if you ask me. Moving on to the film's budget, it was about $13 million and had a box office of around $8 million around its initial release, which signals to me, given its early financial success, that they are likely to make a profit off this film. In fact, there are some other sources online that state that the film is already well beyond that $13 million figure and is actually closer to $20 million at the box office. Now, this financial success does not always translate to commercial or critical success of the film's source material itself. It just means that there is a loyal fan base following, great marketing, or perhaps both. I will move on to the cast before moving on to the plot, and then an overall review of the film, followed by spoilers, if any, of which you will be warned beforehand. The film stars Tobin Bell as Jim Kramer, who did a phenomenal job acting in this one. There were actual bits of emotion being displayed by his character in this one, and it really opened my eyes to his acting abilities of Mr. Bell, so a really good job there. Shawnee Smith reprises her role as Amanda Young, a prodigy of Mr. Kramer. She did a decent job. Not much better than her previous performances in, say, Saw 2 or 3 of the earlier ones, which I say she did her best in. Just really great work there. Good work overall. Now, the film stars all the characters who are involved in the scam, which is going to be outlined in the plot a little bit later in this video, who have little to no filmography, if any. If you want to look them up, you can. I didn't feel the need to waste time talking about them. So, this Saw film was about John Kramer, aka Jigsaw, who's still battling his cancer and is told the blowing news that it's not really looking too good and that his chances of dying from this cancer are quite high. Soon after this, he's sold the idea of a novel treatment for this illness that shows high signs of success. The procedure takes place in Mexico, as the drugs and procedure itself of this treatment are not necessarily approved by the government. He travels there and has the procedure done only to find out it was a scam and that he was not treated at all. This, of course, leads him to take out his revenge on those who tricked him by putting them all in saw traps. I mean, there it is. That's the plot. That's all I want to say about it. Nothing was spoiled there since this was all outlined in the trailer of the film. One thing I did notice about the trailer is that it did reveal a lot of the plot. A lot of it was given away, more so than previous films, though I may be mistaken there. I realized that after watching the movie, if you watch the trailer, you just watched the movie entirely. You could just forego that, but moving on. Without further ado, I will review the film overall. It is just so average. It's not wildly entertaining by any stretch of the imagination. It is very predictable, somewhat boring, and somewhat of a letdown to what audiences really wanted to see, me especially. I know that's likely to be an unpopular opinion given the cult following of the film, which has me included. Just because I don't personally like this film does not mean I hate this franchise. Far from it. I do enjoy it personally. It's just, I'm just me giving you guys my honest opinion and professional review of how the film shook out. Nothing original or fresh came of this film. In fact, a little bit more nonsensical things came out of this film, especially near the ending, which of course was somewhat anticlimactic. We always expect such a gigantic reveal at the end that flips people on their heads as somewhat of a twist that, when that, theme music plays and you're just like, oh damn, it's going down. I didn't get that at all in this film, which made me sad. That's what I wait for. This film, you're just like, oh man, he did this, which meant if he did that, he would have survived, or this and that, whatever. You know what I'm saying. If you're a fan of the film series, you'll know what I'm saying. And unfortunately, in this one, it was so anticlimactic and not as intense as the other ones. And that's just my opinion on that. Now, we all know Saw films are gore fests made for fun watching experiences and not made to show us the deepest depths of the human soul throughout masterful storytelling, editing, scoring, etc. It's just a fun popcorn movie. However, it seems to have failed at that even. I was watching the movie early on in the film and just totally wishing I had a personal skip button just to push past predictable scenes that added little value. it's not a complete shit show. You know, I will go over what I did not like about it first before moving on to what I think was great about the film near the end of this video. However, I will go on over now and count somewhat of a spoiler territory, so you have been warned. So this is a spoiler warning. So the first thing I did not like, as mentioned earlier, is the pace and predictability of this film. It really made me wish I had a skip button. The writing is not so good, just average. It gets the point across to move on to one part of the film and to the next. That is it. The negative attribute is only bolstered by the fact that this is one of the longer films of the series and has the most amount of dialogue. I mean, go figure, right? So they went ahead and tried to do something more ambitious and have more dialogue when it kind of just fell flat. It looks like they should have just stick to the traps and the gore and whatnot. It at least would have been passing as a popcorn movie, which I didn't think it did so much. Moving on to the traps, they were all right. This time they tuned down a bit of the gore for these traps, which is not to say there is none. It's just that, you know, exactly what I fucking said. Less of it. Nothing wild. I think the heat lamp or the radiation lamp was pretty fucked. I think the bloodboarding was really dumb and gimmicky. The other traps are good and are worth the watch. Now, I don't want to spoil too much and honestly feel bad talking so negatively about a franchise I do personally enjoy, so I'll just end off on the negative aspects of the film with what I mentioned earlier, the ending. So Kramer's getting revenge on these people that carried out the scam and orchestrated it. You know the brains behind the whole thing. Come to find out there's one person missing from these traps, a male character who works with this head female who orchestrated the trap. The female manages to get a phone and provide him with no information about her whereabouts, yet very shortly after, he tracks her down and starts knocking on the door of the facility where the game/traps are being held. We have no prior knowledge or knowledge at all of this man's ability to track someone down via a 2-second phone call. Not to say it's not possible, just that we don't know shit about it. Not to mention, he shows up with a loaded gun and a scheme that he is also a burned patient as well, and he wants revenge. I'm guessing this is to avoid being sided with those in the traps and to give himself more leverage and time. However, that is not the case. He is in on the scam. They predict that he will show up with a gun. They somehow predict that, and they take it from him temporarily to remove the gunpowder from the bullets, only to leave it somewhere accessible to him later on. He takes the gun and forces them into their own traps. Not once does he decide to shoot them on the spot and get it over with. They have so much money on the line from these scams. It is mentioned that they made an estimated $8 million from scamming these people. I mean, that's a lot of money to make me forget about a lot of things, especially with a gun in your hand and you're already a criminal. He simply has to entertain the notion of putting both these people into these complicated traps that he nor his female associate have any idea how to operate. He has a perfectly loaded gun, or so he thinks, but decides completely against using it. There's more wrong with the film, but I will end it there. Nothing too serious other than the film being very average. I mean, that is its greatest offense. You know, it was just a letdown to the fans who waited so many years. And so don't act like I made this film out to be some of the worst of the entire series. That's simply not the case. If you want to support the franchise, then go ahead and buy a ticket. If you're not that big a fan but still want to see it, then please do yourself a favor and wait for it to come out on streaming services. Anyways, moving on to the good before closing out. So the best part of the film was the acting and performance reprisals of Kramer and Amanda, so Tobin Bell and Shawnee Smith. They acted well, and you rooted for them throughout the entire film. Amanda was always my favorite character, given that she is the most complex. Her life was changed by the traps, and she wanted to do something different. Honestly, she probably should have went back to school instead of following this demented old man's footsteps of punishing people he has no real authority to do, but to each their own. I also I found her very attractive, and I, even still, while dating the woman I'm with, kind of hold out some sort of hope that Shawnee and I may still one day be together. Anyways, guys, that's going to be it for me. Really appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much for sticking around. I do apologize for these absences. I will go ahead and try to make sure that I make some more videos for you guys for sure. If you like the video, go ahead and like it, subscribe for more content. Go ahead and hit that notification bell so you're always notified when I make a new video, and share it with friends, family, etc. Anyways, thanks again. Take care, guys. See you in the next one.